sometimes it just hurts. Hey everybody, I'm Kelly Wilkniss here with Anita Joyce, and this is Decorating Tips and Tricks. And today we're talking all about what makes us cringe, design don'ts.
Before we get into this, Kelly, I did feel like we needed to clarify something. And that is that when we go into somebody's home, a friend's home, a client's home, we're not going in there like a prosecutor looking to convict on a design crime.
But you know I am a former prosecutor, but not in the design realm.
Well, okay, so let me speak for myself then. So we're not going in there like a prosecutor. We're going in there like a doctor, really trying to get a diagnosis so that we can help somebody. So even though we're talking about things that make us cringe, it's really more of just things that we notice that we feel like, man, if they just change that, it would make their house look so much better. So I know we kind of put that in the title, but we don't have that judgy spirit when we go in someone's house.
No, we don't. And now that you've set us up as good cop Anita and bad cop Kelly, or bad prosecutor.
Well, you set yourself up
hey,
as the
we're just
prosecutor.
having some fun with this. And if there's something on our cringe list and it's not on your cringe list, hey, enjoy it. That's okay. We're having some fun today. Maybe Anita and I have done some of the things that are now on our current cringe list.
I would say I've done a lot of these.
Everybody's just taking this in the spirit in which we're giving it. Just some giggles and some fun. And you're probably going to learn something. So let's get rolling today. My cringes are in no particular order and really have nothing to do with money or budget. It's all about observation and style. Wouldn't you say, Anita?
Yes, although there may be a few that if you have them, it might take some money to fix them. But to have gotten it right, I don't think would have cost any more.
Yeah, I'm not talking about the fix. I'm talking about the thing. You want to start us off?
I know we said it's not in any particular order, but this is probably the thing that bothers me the most.
Give it to us.
It's clutter.
Oh, I know.
Clutter. And I'm kind of it just kind of makes me feel kind of claustrophobic if there's a lot of clutter. So, and this is something interesting because my family is not into design or decorating at all. But in the garage apartment, I had a lot of extra grocery items, and it just ended up being where we have extra paper towels and that sort of thing. But I didn't have a cabinet for it until a few months ago. And so I have not heard any complaints from my family about the mess over there, although it would drive me nuts every time I went over there. But I finally bought the cabinets, put them together, put the offending items away, so there's nothing sitting out anymore. And I just felt an immediate lowering of blood pressure while I was in the room. But the interesting thing is that the other people in the room, the other members of my family, said how much better they felt going in the room after that. And they're not even aware of how a room affects you. But that's just such a good example of how it does impact people, even if they're not aware it's impacting them. It does. And that clutter, and if your house is cluttered, because that's that thing where if you walk in and you feel stressed as soon as you walk into the room, that's usually clutter.
Absolutely.
So that one's a pretty easy fix to, just find another place for things or perhaps get rid of some things. But that is something that causes your cortisol levels to go up. So this one can actually impact your health.
See, you are a doctor. Here you are, Dr. Anita. Okay, mine first one, and again, no particular order for me, but I agree with the clutter for sure. The newly done room that has no resemblance to the rest of the house. Ugh. I see this time and time again. Somebody spends the money to do one room and they do it in a style that maybe it was of the moment, or a style they would hope to have for their whole house, or a style that doesn't even go with their own house. And it just doesn't work, but yet they've spent the money on it. And it just makes me go, you walk into, usually it's a kitchen or a bathroom, and you walk in and you're like, oh, okay, but this has nothing to do with the rest of the house. Wouldn't it be better to renovate, to put some money towards a particular room and actually have it flow with the rest of the house? That just really bugs me.
Well, it's interesting you say that. Now, I'm going to give a caveat there. If you've decided to
Are you just going to be nice the entire time? Because that is not going to be any fun. Okay? Like,
well, this is a specific instance where I think it's okay to do it. And that is if you're moving your entire house in a new direction. I always suggest you do it one room at a time. So if you've done one room.
Okay, duh, Anita. Yes, that's true.
Well, okay. Your house, perhaps you don't like the way it looks, and you're changing up one room, and you don't want it to match the rest of your house because you don't like the rest of your house.
But that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about somebody dumping money into a room and then, hey, look at my new kitchen. And your kitchen does nothing with regard to the rest of your house.
Fair enough.
Give me another one.
All right. A bed with no headboard.
Oh, not on my list.
Okay.
But yeah, that kind of is making me twitch a little.
Okay. Well, and I mean, I have a personal experience with this. Growing up, my bed never had a headboard.
Oh.
And I know. Well, it's another part of my sad childhood. So no headboard. I was deprived. And we moved to Texas, and my dad said, you know what, I moved, I guess, to a bigger bed. And so my dad said, I'll tell you what, we're going to buy you whatever bed you want. And I was so excited. And this was, at this time, there were only 3 places you could order furniture from: Sears, Penny's, or Montgomery Ward's.
Yeah.
Yes. So I chose my dad's drug of choice.
Sears. Did you get the white bed with the gold flecks?
Yeah, well, yes, that is exactly what I chose.
I had a headboard, but I wanted a canopy so badly.
Well, that's what I said. I said, I want the canopy. I want the 3-tiered purple puffy.
Yes, bring it.
I was so excited. And every week I would think, where's my new canopy bed?
Oh, is this just going to keep getting sadder? I can't take it. People are going to stop listening. Okay. Get your attractive Kleenex box right now, everybody, because she's really going to pour it on.
And then finally one day my dad came to me and said, they don't have that bed anymore. It's been discontinued.
I don't think that was true.
Oh,
I'm calling BS on that.
I'll ask my mom, but she'll say, I don't know what you're talking about. She will have no knowledge of the experience.
Or at least to not let on that she does.
That's right. So it didn't come, but here's the worst part. There was no offer to get me an alternative headboard. So yet again, I had no headboard, and I didn't have one until we were married.
Oh, thank God. Kevin he just pulled you from the gutter and got you a headboard. Fantastic. Gosh.
Yeah, so we still have that headboard. It was a Charles P. Rogers bed. That's still our bed.
Oh, that's nice.
And I love it.
Well, it's a monumental move for you, obviously, so you don't let go of that one. Okay, I cringe at catalog style. You've all seen it. It's a room that just looks like it came out of a catalog or perhaps a model home. That's not what you want. And if you listen to us, you know that, and you probably don't have that. I'm sure you don't have that because you have personalized your space like we talk about all the time. You're adding you into your home. Don't have no matter how beautiful those catalogs look, that is not what you want your home to look like. You need to add some personality.
That is so true. And that was on my list too, because it just feels so impersonal. I mean, add something that expresses your personality. You don't want it to look like a hotel lobby. I mean, I think that's a nice look for a hotel, but you don't want your space to look that impersonal. So definitely add something that you cannot find in that one store where it looks like everything was bought. So that's an easy fix on that one. How about this one? This one there's not an easy fix for this, except perhaps paint. And that is the multicolor backsplash. And every time I see that, because I do like to look at the houses that are for sale in my neighborhood, every time I see that, I know that house is not going to sell very quickly, and they're going to have to lower the price.
You're like, Kevin, go put a bid in. Lowball them. They have a multicolored black spot.
When I see that, or when I see a house that's been sitting there for a while, or one that's lowered the price, when I go look in the kitchen,
yeah, some people think it's, the heating or the electric or the foundation, but you're like, no, silly people. It's the multicolored backsplash. That's what's holding this home back from being sold. Multiple bidders on non-multicolored backsplashes all the time.
Yeah, I mean, and you think, it's going to be a melange of colors that work together. But it's not. They fight. The colors fight. It's not good.
How about some stenciling? Stenciling anywhere. No. I hope nobody has that anymore. And I'm sorry. I'm going to be bad cop on that. Paint it over.
Do you remember when the ragging was in?
I sponge painted. I admit it. I did. I sponge painted.
Oh, I did that too.
Peach paint.
I ragged my walls, and I had an appraiser come in for some reason to the house, and he thought that there were major cracks in the wall. And finally he said, I realized that was your paint job.
That's my faux paint job. I think about starting a new business, faux painting. Yes. How about new brick inside? No. Too orange, too almost terracotta. Even if it's brown, no. That squared off, pressed out new brick. I just find that there's nothing charming about that. And I really, if you have a fireplace that is like that, think about maybe painting it.
I think so, or at least doing the German schmear on it.
I love a German schmear.
Yeah, I think that's going to be so much better. Okay, this is a pet peeve of mine. The gallery wall.
Come on, there is a caveat. If you do it really well. But most of them, 98% of them are not so good.
Well, that's what I was going to say, is that I think if it's done well, you can pull it off, but it's very few, I think, are done well. And I can't really even explain to you what is wrong about it, but just most of the time when I look at them, I think, that's just not working for me.
I had to do one of those, I don't know. I mean, how long has this been going on with the masks? I know I had a mask on. So it was probably about a year ago, and it was at a woman's office, and I had never met her before, and she was referred to me by another client, and she was one of these people like, could you have done this yesterday? You ready? Come on, I got all my stuff. Oh, that would be great. I'll see you at 5. And I was like, I don't even really know you, and I hate gallery walls. And what stress. And then, get this, she had her husband. The husband wanted to make the holes in the wall. You guys, I was freaking out. I was sweating. I had a mask on. I probably had a sweater on because I think it was last winter, and it was like 100 degrees in her office, and she had all this stuff that didn't really go together, and I was supposed to just figure it out in an hour. It was so stressful. Honestly, it did turn out pretty well. And it was so great that I didn't have to make the holes. At first, I thought, I can't. I'm not a team player except with Anita. I was like, I can't work with this man. I'm doing this. I'm making my own holes. But then I thought, well, if he makes the hole in the wrong spot, I'll just blame him.
I think that works for me.
Whoa, I'm sweating just thinking about that. But it turned out okay. It looked nice. She liked it.
Oh, good.
Okay, I have another one. Out of season anything. Now talk about easy. Put it away. Throw it away. Give it away. Just make it go away, right? You don't want to be having, right now, my pumpkins are on their way out. I moved them outside. They're all around the fireplace. They actually look really pretty, but I know the time is up. They need to be composted or they need to go somewhere else. We're putting the Christmas out. But if I walked in and it was April and I still had something from Christmas out, that's sad. That's depressing.
Well, I think my next door neighbor has their Christmas decor up on their house, and the pumpkins are still sitting out there. So what do we call that?
That was Yvonne's word. Very good. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't have to be just decor. How about it's July and you've got a hook near your door and there's a scarf on it, a wool scarf? No, put it away. Yeah, that's just depressing.
Oh, that makes me too hot.
What do you have for me next?
Vertical blinds.
I can't believe I forgot those.
What?
Because they still exist.
So
It's just wrong. They should have never existed. I told everybody that vertical blind story when, many, many years ago. I actually went on a few dates with somebody whose brother was a vertical blind installer. And my mother actually wanted vertical blinds at the time. I guess that's when they first came out. My mother has good taste. But she did have at one point, for a very brief time, they had a house that had vertical blinds. And I didn't want to go out with that guy anymore, but she had already contracted with the brother. It was very awkward. Very awkward, let me just say. As are vertical blinds. So it all makes sense.
well, and our first house had vertical blinds, and I didn't pick them out. They were in there. I always hated them, but I couldn't come up with something to put in the space in place of the vertical blinds because it was on one of those sliding
I know,
glass
it is.
doors.
I mean, they actually do the job. They're just ugly.
Right. But, we had a break-in at that house, and the burglar came through that door. So every time I looked at those stupid vertical blinds, I just hated them even more.
Oh, but wouldn't it have been great if at least you broke the track and they came down? You'd be like, oh, you have to replace
Maybe
those for insurance.
Maybe they smacked him on
Oh,
the way
sure.
out. I
You
don't
can
know.
get cut with those too, I bet. Okay, how about 2, period? No matter what circa your home is from, you don't want to go full on period. Now, this is an issue that I come upon sometimes because people are like, oh, wow, your house really isn't all that Victorian because yeah, no, it's not because it's not a museum. I'm not charging you an entrance fee. I want to have a house that speaks to the time period, that respects it in all regards, but that is also a contemporary, modern, working, functioning home for my family that has some cool new stuff in it. So if you have a great craftsman or something like that, you don't want it to look like, William Morris is going to come out of the bathroom any second. You want to mix it up, right? Or even if you have a super cool mid-century house, you don't want to go all mid-century so you look like Mad Men could be filmed at your house. So mix it up.
Well, this is a delicate balance because when you have a period home like yours that's Victorian, you want to respect the history and add some Victorian elements. But if you go too far, it's going to feel very stuffy. And, the Victorians loved clutter. I mean, that was their middle name. So I think if we saw a Victorian house now done the way the Victorians did it, I think we would all just be feeling a little icky when we left the room. So it is a delicate balance. And I think you've done a lovely job of respecting the style of your home, but then adding elements that work for your family.
Why, thank you, Anita. I really appreciate that coming from you for sure. How about only overhead lighting? Talk about cringing. I'm like ducking when I'm just saying it. You want to have a lot of different light sources, at least 3 in every room. And if you listen to this show, you know that already. But, this is about what makes us cringe. And that is one of my top cringers.
How about chunky, oversized chairs? You know the kind, the big rolled arms. I'm talking about the kind of chair that's so massive looking, it looks like you might need a forklift to move the chair. If that's the way it looks, it's probably too big for your room.
Absolutely true. And that leads me to another cringy. It's scale. Balance is different, and balance is sort of hard, and that can come along as you're adding pieces to the room or taking pieces out of the room. But scale is really important. And when you don't get it right, it is cringeworthy. And I think that's what you're talking about with these big oversized furnishings. And on the other end of the spectrum, if your furnishings are all too little, like I remember looking at a house with my mom and dad in Florida, and it was one of these soaring ceilings, with the screened and caged lanai with the pool. Like it was big and just high and all of that. And it was decorated with all this really low little furniture. Like it was so weird. And we left the house and we was like, what is wrong with this house? It's a beautiful house, but what is wrong? And we all came to the conclusion it was the furniture. It just was so off that you couldn't even appreciate that the house was actually pretty.
That's interesting you say that because I had some chairs in my living room at the farm, and there was something about they were leggy French chairs, and the sofa is kind of really a day bed, but it's leggy too. And for some reason, when it looked like doll furniture. It just looked weird. It looked like I'd taken a picture of a doll, one of those rooms you see where it's a doll furniture room, but they make it look like it's a real room.
Weird. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
So it never looked right. I had to take those out and put some club chairs in and just add some bulk, and then they looked so much better. So I think that's an example of what you're talking about.
Excellent example of what I'm talking about. Now, if you're listening to this, just mute it for a minute. Figurines.
Oh no, you're going right for the jugular.
and I'm not just talking precious moments. I'm talking even the expensive ones. I don't like
Hummels?
No, I don't like them. And I don't like Yadros. I don't like anything like that. I just don't. I don't get it. Maybe I'm missing something, but me personally, this is my cringe list. Figurines are on it.
Yeah, I think they can be overdone, and the collections can be a bit much. I mean, if there's some particular figurine that's really important to you, has sentimental value, I think, work it in. But a collection, it's hard to make those work in a room. So we'll put it that way. And how about faux flowers? Now, we've talked about faux flowers, and I think there's some exceptions there. Like, we both really love Diane James home flowers.
Yes.
And
gorgeous.
I think there are some quality faux flowers that you can add to your room, but there's a lot of bad ones. And so I think this is one of those cases where you have to be really careful and selective. Again, maybe a little bit here and there, but no more of those big sprays that go in the middle of your dining room table that are up 3 feet, like in the old days.
And they have a little dust in the base.
A lot of dust.
Yeah, that's bad.
Yes.
And let's just say it all. No faux stuff over your kitchen cabinets on the top. See? No.
Yeah.
None of that. Okay, we got that off the list. Blocked natural light. Why? Why are you blocking the natural light? Let it in. Let it pour in. And along the same lines, because they go together, I'm going to give 2 at one time. Dirty windows. No reason to have dirty windows. Just takes a little elbow grease and a little spray away or Windex or whatever.
Well, that's those second floor windows.
They are a bit tough, but okay, so I'll give you a break on the second floor. Would you stop being so nice? This is supposed to be fun.
I'm not being nice. I'm looking at my own windows going, Kelly, please do not come over here.
Especially with all that natural light pouring in. I can really see.
Oh, yeah. You can see every streak on there.
Okay, what you got next?
Mini blinds.
Oh.
Yeah, it's kind of the corollary to the vertical blinds,
yeah.
mini blinds. And, it's one of those cases, I think in some cases, we're renting or we're not going to be in the house very long. They're very practical. They're very inexpensive, cheap to replace. I get it. But if you're going to be in the house for a while and you can afford it, I definitely would go with something else. What's your next one?
Random decor with no meaning or geographic sensibility. So you just got some stuff in your house, like, that farm egg sign or some coastal decor, but you live very well inland. Things like that. They have a place, but maybe not your place. So think about what you've got going on. As we've said before, we don't want you to be buying stuff that it was just on sale or just on trend. We want things in your home that are really going to bring you joy and personalize your space. So if it's just something that's rando and it's now sort of in a state of inertia on any horizontal surface in your home, give it some thought and maybe move it on out.
How about the curtains with the grommets at the top?
You are really got some good ones. I hate those.
Yeah, I really don't like them.
I really hate them.
It's not a good look, and they're so difficult to open
and especially when you're 5'3" and a little, you can't get there like. No, not good.
Yeah,
they just never look good. They look like portholes to me. They're just very. They're not elegant in any way, shape, or form. And again, you could spend a lot on those. You could spend just as much as on those. It's not like those are super cheap compared to another pair
Right.
or set of curtains or drapes that, don't have the grommets that will just look so much better. Just on rings, nice rings with clips. It's sort of the same thing. Too much wood everywhere. This is happening a lot in dining rooms because you've got sometimes a wooden table and wooden chairs and maybe a wooden floor and you don't have anything else going on in there. Break it up. Let me see some textiles. Let me see some fabrics. How about roll out a rug? So you don't want to have so much wood on wood.
How about, well, this is kind of a corollary to that. Too much of one color. So if you've gone for the monochrome look, the problem is when you have no other color and very little texture. And I'm thinking of the blogs, maybe back 6 years ago in the peak of the chalk paint craze. I remember some rooms that they painted everything in the room white. They had white walls. Everything was white. And it was like you needed sunglasses to go in the room. And it just didn't work because even if you're monochromatic in the room, you need different colors, different variations of shades. If you're white, then you want some cream in there, some almond, some tan. You can stay neutral, but you need to add in some other colors. And then you're going to need to add a little bit of color somewhere in there, some black. And so I think the thing here is when there's just one color and that's it. That's so kind of like the wood. Too much of a good thing does not work.
I absolutely agree. And that whole white look, whether it was the milk paint, chalk paint, whitewashing, what have you, that whole feel. And I think everyone can conjure that in their mind, right? It was just so strong and so prevalent. And even if you didn't love that, you were seeing so much of it. And I think this is such a wonderful time to be a person who loves decor and design because I'm seeing more and more variety. The collected look, the English kind of look that we love, but that is really the collected look. You're throwing in a French chair and you're throwing in something else and you're throwing in a modern piece. I love that that's kind of where I feel like so many people that love decor and design are at right now. I feel like we're not all like, oh, we want modern farmhouse, or we want everything to look like this, or we're going to paint everything white, or everything has to be shabby chic. Like I feel like those very defined decor looks are over, and that it's sort of this melding, and that people's tastes are getting a little bit more refined. In that respect, I don't mean that they're spending more money necessarily, but they're being choosier. They're more aware of what's out there and what they want to have surrounding them. Do you feel that too?
Yeah, I think they're growing up in design. I think people are feeling more confident and going with something that speaks to them and not worrying about following a particular look that's out there and following very closely the trends. I think it has to do with confidence.
That's very interesting you say that, because I 100% agree. And that's why I was saying, I wonder if it's just sort of me. I'm now at this point in my life, I've done a number of houses. I've had an opportunity to design a bunch of different places for clients. And I've kind of, learned what I love, just like my wardrobe. Like I know what I like to wear now, I know what works for me. But as the collective community of design and decor lovers, of which all our DTT listeners are a part, I wonder if it's that we've all lived through this momentous interest in home decor and design, HGTV and all those shows and all the magazines, and how that became so hot. And, maybe we've all just absorbed so much that we are just better tuned in now. And I think that maybe is what's going on. And that's why everybody is so astute at being able to design their own home now.
Yeah, I think that could very well be it.
So speaking of growing up, my last one, or one of my last ones, is dorm-like first apartment furniture for people who are not recently graduated. So
I think tends to be a male thing too.
Right.
In general.
Or it's the inertia thing. Oh, we got that when we got married at the IKEA in New Jersey, and we just have kept it.
Yeah. Well, and I know people that once they buy something for their house, that's it. They will never get rid of it.
Yeah. And I mean, if that's a Chippendale, then that's one thing. But, there's nothing wrong with shopping at IKEA. As you know, I get a big charge out of it. I can't wait to actually get back to an IKEA.
Oh, we both love IKEA. But
exactly.
it has its
and there
place.
are certain pieces that are just so clearly of that time period in a person's life. And so if you're older than that, and if you have a budget that can afford something new, then maybe it's time to try something new.
Okay, the rug too small.
Ah,
That is just something that can really make a room look kind of cheap. And it's so easy to get the larger rug. But now it is more expensive, obviously, going with a bigger rug, but it's amazing how that can really make a room feel off when you don't get the right size rug. And so that is something that can really hurt the look of a room. And the last one I have is, I don't think you quite touched on this, a room but you kind of talked a little bit around it. And that is a room that has a particular theme. The beach room, the safari room.
right.
Want, all these rooms to, like you said, work together, and to avoid the room theme idea, the idea of a theme for a room. I mean, you could put in some of your favorite things. If you love the beach, then you can put in maybe a few things here and there, but having the beach room doesn't usually work very well.
Okay, I'm going to finish up with this one item that just kind of makes my skin crawl. Macrame art. I'm going to just say it. Macrame art.
That's been so trendy lately. Well, I think when I was 14, I made some macrame. Haven't really liked it since, though.
That's different. I don't know why we had to bring that back. But yeah, it's everywhere. It's overdone. And I want to hear what our DTT define is today.
Dupani, as in Dupani silk. So I'm sure you've heard about that. I mean, that's a term that I've heard for a long time, but I'd never really understood before how they make it. And they create it with the threads of two different silkworms. So they kind of spin their cocoons close together and the fibers get tangled up.
No worms harmed
in
the process?
No, I don't think so. So anyway, so it makes the silk, and it's kind of a raw silk, so it's got nubs. You've seen the silk that's got the nubs in it.
I love that. It's even extra texture.
I do too. So it's not the smooth silky, but kind of the raw with the nubby kind of a silk. I love this. This is so beautiful. I have some pillows that are made with this kind of silk, and it is just so incredibly beautiful. But you do have to be careful because it does stain easily, and usually this needs to be dry cleaned because it doesn't have a lot of stretch to it. You do have to be careful. But the nice thing about it is that it doesn't wrinkle as badly as regular silk.
Oh, well, that's good to know.
You've seen it in pillows and curtains. That would be what you would use it for. I would not use it for a seat cushion cover. I think that's too scary. I'm sure it would be probably damaged pretty quickly that way. I would limit it to pillows, and if you use it in a dining room, I would just use it on curtains.
Good idea. Well, great to know. So would that also be sort of referred to in layman's terms like pulled silk?
I've not used that term. I've not heard that one before, so I don't know
because,
what that means.
It does have the nubs on it. I've heard that term, but I don't know if that means the same thing. Okay, let's do our crushes. I listened to a wonderful book. It's called The Chancellor, The Remarkable Odyssey of Angela Merkel by Kati Martin. I listened to it on Audible. I like Audible a lot, and it gets me to enjoy a lot of books that I might not just have the time to actually sit down and read, so I can do my Audible listening, like my podcast listening while I'm walking or working out or something like that. I truly enjoyed this book. I don't read a lot of biographies, but I had heard about this one, and I'd always known about her and sort of what a quiet force she is, and I didn't know, obviously, so much about her life, but she lived so much of her young life up into her 20s in East Germany under Soviet control and then became the chancellor for 16 years. But I highly recommend it. And if you're a person who is interested in history at all, there was so much history involved in this story, obviously of Europe and the fall of the wall, but so many things that have gone over the course of 16 years. It was wonderful. Really well read, and the epilogue and the prologue are read by the author, which I thought was really wonderful. But highly recommend it. I will leave a link in the show notes to the hardcover of the book, and then if you are an Audible person, you can just find it there.
My crush is a very functional work table. I just got Juniper Office, sent it to me for review, and I really love this table. It's really great to be used as a desk or crafts or anything else you might need it for. It's commercial quality, but the thing I really like about it, it's that it's on wheels. So you can roll it around wherever you need it, wherever you need a craft table. You could even use it for extra seating for the holidays. And once you have it in place, you lock the casters, and then when you're done using it, you can flip the tabletop up so that it's not in the way. So when Kevin's working, I'm going to put it in the garage apartment. He's got a nice surface to work on there. And then when Evie comes to stay for the weekend, we'll flip it up, and then it won't be in the way as she's using it as a bedroom. So it's really very multifunctional, flexible. They also have those wonderful standing desks, which are adjustable height that you can use, and some great chairs as well. So I'll include the link to the website and to the table that I selected.
Oh, that sounds really good. Yeah.
I had not even seen anything like this before. So remember, we're here to inspire you to create a beautiful home. Until next time.
Want to talk to us? Well, we really want to talk to you. So let's schedule a design consult. Anita and I are here to give you individualized, actionable advice on how to create the beautiful home you want and deserve. It's so easy to schedule a design consult with us. Simply click the link in the show notes or head to decoratingtipsandtricks.com/consult. When we talk to you on the scheduled time, we will be ready with so many great tips, advice, and yes, tricks. So sign up today for a design consult. We can't wait to talk to you. Well, I hope you enjoyed the episode, and you're definitely going to want to subscribe to Decorating Tips and Tricks in the podcast version. And it's so easy to do it. It's also fabulous and fun and free. I'll have instructions below in the description of how you can start listening to our podcast. It's really easy, and we'd love to have you along with us. Thanks for watching today, and have a wonderful rest of your day.